Welcome to Stay Clean and Safe, a podcast created with financial support from the European Union. Here, we share ideas, advice, and stories that help us build healthier, safer, and cleaner communities together. Let's get started. Welcome to the second episode of our podcast, How to Overcome Obstacles and Stay Motivated. That is today's topic. So the goal of this discussion is to explore some challenges and practical strategies for maintaining an active lifestyle. Today's speakers are Kristina Gashtarova, an economist and project coordinator at Youth on Board, and Despina Delipetra, a professor at the State Regional Center for Vocational Education, Kolanechtenin, and also a youth worker at Youth on Board. I would like to start by inviting them to briefly share their connection to physical activity and tell us a bit more about themselves.
Hello, I am Kristina Gashtarova. My connection with physical activity is actually persistence. I enjoy regular running and participate in almost all races across Macedonia, usually 5 kilometers. I am now preparing for 10 kilometers, and I plan to run a half marathon and a full marathon. For me, running is not just a sport, but a way to connect with myself and enjoy the experience.
For me, my connection to physical activity represents discipline and a daily ritual. It not only keeps me physically and mentally healthy, but it also gives me motivation and energy throughout the day to handle all my tasks and routines.
So I see that today we have two people that are very passionate about physical activity and offer perspectives from two different worlds, the world of educators and the world of youth. Let's move on to our first question for today, which is what are the main obstacles that young people face when trying to stay active? Christina, I'll start with you.
I think the biggest obstacle today is actually a lack of time, or at least that's how we perceive it. We have too many obligations from school, work, or university, and physical activity often comes last. When we finally have time to exercise, we're tired and lack motivation, so we don't see good results. Another obstacle is the lack of appropriate spaces or resources. Not everyone has access to a gym or a safe place to exercise, but I think the main obstacle is mental fatigue. That plays the biggest role because we simply don't have the energy after our responsibilities.
Thank you, Christina. I'd like to ask you though one more question. How can these challenges realistically be overcome? So how can we overcome these challenges?
Well, first, we need to change how we view physical activity. It doesn't have to mean going to the gym, running a marathon, lifting weights, or using heavy machines. Sometimes 20 minutes of walking, dancing at home, or a short yoga session is enough. Another way is to find company, a friend or a group that motivates you. Exercising in a group or walking with loved ones feels good and has a strong positive effect. Also, it's realistic to start with small goals. For example, 3 days of 15 minutes walk or 4 days a week of lightweight training. The key is to being with small steps.
So you mentioned motivation. What personally motivates you to stay physically active beyond just the social aspect?
What motivates me most is the feeling after exercising, the energy I get and the mental lightness I feel. Not only does my body feel better, but my mind feels lighter. All the stress I accumulated during the day or previous days somehow gets released through physical activity. Also, noticing over time that I am becoming stronger and more resilient motivates me even more to continue.
Thank you. Now I'd like to hear from actually Professor Despina. What motivates you, Despina?
Well, physical activity has been a part of my life for as long as I can remember. It's not a trend or something fashionable among young people, it's a part of my daily routine. If I go through the day without any physical activity, I notice that I lack energy, become less patient, lose concentration more easily, and feel more tired. Over the years, I have practiced cycling and yoga, not as a trend, but for health reasons, like addressing back problems. Physical activity has become a lifestyle. The feeling of well-being, daily progress, looking healthy, and receiving compliments for staying fit, all these small but meaningful factors give me ongoing motivation.
Thank you. But listening to both of your motivations, I find like a connection to myself. I admit I can be lazy and need to be more active. but listening to you both gives me motivation sources that I can use for later on. Now, shifting from personal motivation to the role of technology, Professor Despina, can technology or social media play a positive role in promoting physical activity? Because today we know technology is widespread and often a reason why young people stay indoors and are inactive.
Yes, technology and social media can have a positive role as long as they are used in moderation. I work with young people daily and see their approach to technology. While it is often misused, moderate can bring real benefits. There are studies showing that apps that track physical activity can be very motivating. Personalized feedback from these apps or smartwatches encourages us to be more active. For example, when you reach a certain number of steps, you get a notification like, "Congratulations, you reached your steps today." This motivates us further. Sometimes we even share achievements with friends. "Whoa, I walked 2,000 steps today." This is motivating, but we must avoid comparing ourselves excessively to others. The goal is to exercise for our own benefit and mental well-being. Social support is also important. You can organize with friends, use shared trackers, and measure your progress against each other. I do this with my cycling group. It's much more fun at the end when we collect all the results. The only caution is to not over-compare yourself to others and listen to your body. Avoid over-exertion.
Thank you very much. This was actually a very rich answer and information for our listeners and for myself as well. But I'd like to briefly add, like smartwatches have become like a new type of motivation, let's say, sometimes even negative, because they are pushing young people to exercise. It's an interesting phenomenon to explore online in the sense that they have smartwatches today give negative feedback to the users as they are sending them messages like "you're being lazy today," etc. It's a very interesting phenomenon.
Yes, it's very interesting. I will investigate how my students and young people perceive this feedback and why being demotivated in this way can actually motivate them.
Finally, thank you all for sharing your excellent thoughts on our topic. For the final question, if you could give one piece of advice to young people on staying active, what would it be? Let's hear from Christina first.
I would say don't complicate it. Activity doesn't need to be perfect or intense. Move every day in your own way. Listen to your body, find something that makes you happy, and do it again tomorrow. Small steps lead to big changes.
Thank you. Professor Despina, what would you share with your students?
Given the fast and dynamic life students lead, I advise integrating physical activity into their daily routines. As Christina said, even small efforts matter. Doing 1% is better than 0%. Every day adds up, and habits are a powerful tool. Instead of spending time scrolling on phones, even 5 or 10 minutes of exercise contributes to long-term physical and mental health. Discipline and routine help build a balanced, healthy physical personality.
Thank you for listening to the Stay Clean and Safe podcast, a project funded by the European Union. Remember, small steps lead to big changes in keeping our world clean and safe. Take care and stay safe.